buy or sell. Anthony Richardson will be a top 7 fantasy quarterback this season. We're keeping this realistic here. We know that nobody would think that he'll be in the top 3, probably not even the top 5. How about top 7, George? Buy or sell?
If he stays healthy, top 5 is not out of question here at all. He's a running quarterback. We know how valuable they can be. My worry is going to be what I mentioned when we talked about the Indianapolis Colts. Boy, man, if Pittman were to go down, there's not a lot to throw. He'll be running for his life half the time there. I like Richardson a lot. Small sample size of what we saw of what he's going to be. I played the 5 games last year before the injury here. So over a longer season, we'll see if he gets some catch up to him, what he can do. He's going to have to prove he can throw the ball to be down the field here. I'm going to buy this. All right. I want to buy on Anthony Richardson. I want him to be that guy because I want to see the excitement that he can bring. I think smart money might say go the other way because there's so many quarterbacks in that tier that hey, he could have a good year and still not finish top 7. That being said, I think he will show just like he did last year. He's going to be dynamic. I'm buying top 7.
Yeah, reminds me so much of Cam Newton in the early days too. I'm going to sell on this. I think it's too high. I think most leagues take away points for interceptions. If that's the case, I think his numbers are going to be 20-something touchdowns, 15, 16-something interceptions. That's going to negate some stuff. Yes, he will run. Can he play an entire season? Still very questionable for me. I have him as the 9th best fantasy quarterback at the end of the season, just outside the top 7. So I'm going to go sell on that.
Hour 2 of Fantasy Sports today, right here on SportsGrid. Joe Pisapia, Matt Stryker with you. And we are talking about what everybody's talking about, which is who should you play in your lineups? This is the most fun we're always going to have, right? Sometimes we overthink things, but you really shouldn't. For the most part, we're still going off ADP. Yeah, matchups do matter, but talent matters more. So let's not get too crazy here. And if for some reason the guy on your bench outscores the guy that you drafted ahead of him, well, some weeks that's going to happen. So don't overreact to it next week. And then the vicious cycle begins, right? Where you keep starting the wrong player every single week. Don't do that to yourself. It's torture. I don't want you to do that. Instead, let's have some good sound advice here. Let's go through some of these positions, some of the players potentially that we are looking at on the bubble, whether it be RB2s or flex positions here, some guys at the wide receiver 3/4 spot as well, and some guys on the bubble of QB1, tight end 1, and also the super flex positions too, especially now that Justin Fields is a viable start. In case you missed it and you're just waking up, Justin Fields is going to start today over Russell Wilson in week 1. The calf issue is a problem. Russell Wilson says he can play. The doctors say probably not a good idea. Interesting controversies already. You can feel all the beat reporters just typing away, tweeting away. Should be a fun one to watch in Atlanta today. But let's start with the running backs here. And of course, in hour 2, we'll also break down some of the injuries coming to the NFL that we'll be keeping an eye on. We already have some to talk about. But first, let's talk about the running backs. Who should we start today? 2 guys right next to each other in the rankings on fantasypros.com. We've got Tony Pollard against the Chicago Bears and Gus Edwards against the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, Edwards seems to be the guy at the top of the depth chart for now. A lot of people think J.K. Dobbins is going to make that a change in the weeks to come. For me, I'm looking at Tony Pollard first. I think you paid Tony Pollard because you want to get Tony Pollard the football, because you didn't think Tajay Spears was ready necessarily to take that job and be a 3-down back. If you did, why the hell are you paying another running back? So Tony Pollard last year, despite being disappointing, still was an RB2. And I think he still is an RB2 in this one. At full point PPR, I think he's going to see a fair amount of work here. Will Levis does have Hopkins playing in this game. He will be playing despite the injury. He's got Calvin Ridley. He's got some weapons to work with, and I think they can cover this number against the Bears today. But it's Pollard for me over Gus Edwards. Matt Stryker, I think we have him back now. Let's try to get to him and see what Matt thinks. So Tony Pollard against the Bears or the Raiders going on the road here facing the Chargers, and we've got the Chargers running back Gus Edwards. Matt Stryker, I'm on Team Pollard. Who are you starting today?
I am on Team Pollard as well. Let's try that all over again. Let me reset the entire universe.
Matt good.
As well.
Matt like player. Matt
Yes.
start running back, run hard, score touchdown, make Matt happy.
With Tony Pollard, with Tennessee in their entirety. I think if you look at the team overall, they're a lot better than people think they're going to be. I think Levis can only take a step forward here. The thing is that most people don't realize, I think Hopkins has a legitimate injury. Right, I think it's an MCL. I really do. I think it makes Spears actually far more viable in the passing system as well. Just try to reach out in one of my leagues and grab Spears and see he's already rostered. So yeah, I'm with you on Tony Pollard, especially in this matchup. I just think it's obvious, and I don't want to talk myself out of something. And I don't know if you had mentioned, but we also like Las Vegas on the other side of this game. Now let's talk receivers here because they're from the same game. It's going to be Cortland Sutton or it's going to be JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Which do you like?
Yeah, same game here. A tale of two quarterbacks too, Bo Nix and Geno Smith. I'm going to play ecosystem here, and I'm going to take my chances with Geno Smith despite the disappointments last year. Look, it's a fresh situation here, new coach, new coordinator, new system. Sometimes that takes a little while to get under your belt, but I'm excited about the prospect of Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think Cortland Sutton is the safer play. Let me just throw that out there. If you're already up by a lot, like let's say you had a good day from Lamar and Saquon, and that's the beginning of your week, and you're sitting pretty, then you could go and play Cortland Sutton. I think Cortland Sutton is kind of the boring play here. But I think for the upside play, I'd rather roll the dice with JSN. Lockett has been injured for the last couple of weeks here. He has not been practicing. He is not 100% by any stretch. And I think this is the year 2 coming out party for JSN, a guy who went to Ohio State wide receiver university, as we love to call it here on the program. And those guys typically figure it out in the NFL more often than not. The Olaves, we got Harrison Jr. this year. We're going to have a lot of these guys in the future too. But I would lean towards JSN for the upside in case you are playing from behind a little bit. Maybe Christian Watson didn't give you what you needed there. We'll see what happens. But I'm not comfortable yet with Bo Nix. So therefore, I'm not comfortable yet with Cortland Sutton in this decision.
Understood and well said. It would be JSN for me as well. And I mean, honestly, if this is the choice you have to make in week 1, your error has already happened. I mean, honestly, don't let you put yourself in this situation. All right, let's have this Brock Bowers, Dalton Schultz conversation. Bowers is not 100%. Schultz is part of an offensive ecosystem that I'm excited about in a game about which I'm excited. So where do you lean?
Look, I think with this one, as excited as I am about Brock Bowers, and I really am, again, I love the player, love the talent. I think he could be a breakout star this year. I'm a little concerned about the foot injury, enough that I look at the total of this Indianapolis game, one of the highest ones on the board here between Indy and Houston. And I do think it's going to be a bit of a shootout. I think it's going to be one that people want to be invested in daily fantasy. I think it's going to play to the higher total. So therefore, more scoring potentially in that game. Again, better quarterback play also. We're talking about Minshew versus C.J. Stroud. In this scenario, I think I want to just play the safer Dalton Schultz, who might have a little bit of touchdown equity. Look, I get it. People want to bury Dalton Schultz. I understand. There's Diggs. There's Dell. There's Nico Collins. There's a lot. And now you got Joe Mixon too. But that doesn't mean Dalton Schultz can't do anything today. And we don't know as a rookie how Brock Bowers is going to be, how healthy that foot really is. So give me Dalton Schultz today, and I am hoping that Brock Bowers performs well. And if he does, great. Then it's Brock Bowers rest of season for me, and I don't look back. But if he struggles a little bit, I'm glad that I have Dalton Schultz or Pat Freiermuth or somebody else like that on my roster. And right now, if you have Bowers, I think it's a good idea to have those guys.
You know, on this network, we have a show called Game Time Decisions. We're flirting with a new show called Sensible Decisions because, Joe, that's a common sense.
No one will watch it. No one will watch
Seriously,
it.
no one will watch it. I'm not into that. Doesn't speak to me. All right, let's take a sensible approach to this next one here. Quarterbacks. On paper, it's Trevor Lawrence versus Caleb Williams. So on paper, you rush to Caleb Williams. Oh, my gosh. But game script tells me that Lawrence could be chasing points, whereas Williams could be sitting on a lead. How do you sit?
Yeah, the thing with Lawrence here is, I do expect them to be behind in this game against the Miami Dolphins. Caleb Williams, I think, despite the fact that he's rookie and despite the fact that, historically, I think it's 5-15 rookies have gone in their opener here. in the last 20 rookies to start. That's not a great number that's really on his side. I do think Caleb Williams from a fantasy perspective is a little bit more interesting in points this year already in week one. Now, I know that's, sounds a little hot takey. I get that. Trevor Lawrence is more established. I think the energy of that building is going to be good. And I think you're going to see a situation where I think Caleb Williams might be the better play here. It's very close. These guys are back to back. I don't blame you if you prefer to just go, you know what? I know what Trevor Lawrence is. Give me Trevor Lawrence. But I think I'd lean towards Caleb Williams here. It is very close, but I will give the edge to Caleb Williams just based on some of the options that he's got. And I think the fact they are going to be challenged, I do believe, by the Titans a little bit, and that's a good thing. So I do think it's a little bit more of a back and forth here potentially, whereas I could see Miami just delivering a knockout blow here at some point. I think Miami today has a chance to make a statement right off the bat here and kind of say, hey, the AFC East is wide open for business and it's our turn.
All right. Make your statement to your neighbors in New Jersey here. Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold? I mean, honestly, I would take Will Levis over Daniel Jones. With Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, how do you lean?
Look, man, neither's pretty. Let's not pretend like it's great. Let's not make Sam Darnold a superstar. Daniel Jones, turnover prone, that's what worries me a little bit. Game script worries me a little bit. The Vikings are not the same team without Kirk Cousins. We know that, but they still have Justin Jefferson, the best player on this roster. So to me, I'll go Sam Darnold. But it is so close. More FST when we return after this.
Buy or sell, Anthony Richardson will be a top 7 fantasy quarterback this season. We're keeping this realistic here. We know that nobody would think that he'll be in the top 3, probably not even the top 5. How about top 7, George? Buy or sell?
If he stays healthy, top 5 is not out of question at all. He's a running quarterback. We know how valuable they can be. My worry is going to be what I mentioned when we talked about the Indianapolis Colts. Boy, man, if Pittman were to go down, it's not a hard throw to him. He'll be running for his life half the time there. I like Richardson a lot. Small sample size of what we saw of what he's going to be. I played the 5 games last year before the injury here. So, or a longer season, we'll see if he gets to catch up to him, what he can do. He's going to have to prove he can throw the ball to be down the field here. I'm going to buy this. All right, I want to buy on Anthony Richardson. I want him to be that guy because I want to see the excitement that he can bring. I think smart money might say go the other way because there's so many quarterbacks in that tier that hey, he could have a good year and still not finish top 7. That being said, I think he will show just like he did last year. He's going to be dynamic. I'm buying top 7.
Yeah, it reminds me so much of Cam Newton in the early days too. I'm going to sell on this. I think it's too high. I think most leagues take away points for interceptions. If that's the case, I think his numbers are going to be 20-something touchdowns, 15, 16-something interceptions. That's going to negate some stuff. Yes, he will run. Can he play an entire season? Still very questionable for me. I have him as the 9th best fantasy quarterback at the end of the season, just outside the top 7. So I'm going to go sell on that.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports. Today, Matt and Joe having a good time saying what's up to Luke and Jake and everyone behind the glass. Sam, why the sports guy's floating around somewhere. This is the team. Welcome in. If you're new to the show, you're going to love us. I promise you that, or at least the rest of the guys. Me, you'll be lukewarm. All right, it's time for NFL injury update because it's football and guys get hurt and it's not even week 1. And ouch. Let's start here with arguably the biggest name in the fantasy community, and people are divided on Christian McCaffrey. Joe, calf and now an Achilles, limited in practice. What are we expecting for Monday night?
I thought for sure you were going to make it Christian McCaff re-joke. Like I thought that was
It was just too
like
right there
locked
for
and
me.
loaded.
Yeah.
Well, look, sometimes it's the obvious one is the right one. Let's not pretend like
That's
it's
right.
not.
That's the whole
Here's
pretense
the
of the
thing.
show.
Here, I didn't realize we still had pretense. Here's the thing with McCaffrey. It was calf. Now it's Achilles. Now I get it. Part of the leg, everything's connected, blah, blah, blah. But that would have been good information, I think, for all of us to have if the Achilles was also bothering him. We've seen a lot of Achilles injuries the last few years. So, of course, you're starting Christian McCaffrey. I mean, that goes without saying. Is he going to be on a little bit more of a pitch count? Maybe. Now, Elijah Mitchell's not going to be a guy to help with that. Jordan Mason would be the other guy, too. So that would be frustrating. You get a lot of McCaffrey work, and then maybe you get to the goal line, you give him a break, and then all of a sudden it's Jordan Mason. We'll talk more about him later in the program. But you're starting him. You're holding your breath, I think, most of the season when it comes to Christian McCaffrey, because 417 touches total last year between the regular season and the postseason is a lot of touches. Historically speaking, the next year does not go well for guys who cross that 400 threshold. It's not that they can't be good. It's just typically they aren't great, no matter how great they were the year before. And I know Christian McCaffrey is special. I'm not trying to take shots at Christian McCaffrey. He has been unbelievable in his career. Yeah, there were a couple years where he was hurt and you missed some time, and that's fine. We don't have to live in that past either, but it's still a huge workload. It's still a beginning of the season where he's picked up a leg injury. So it's just something to understand that maybe you want a little bit more insurance. Maybe if you have McCaffrey this year, it's not it's McCaffrey, he's my hero RB, and I'm just going to go whatever running back the rest of the time. You need to have a roster that's got some running back depth just in case McCaffrey isn't right in certain weeks. If he plays 17 games this year, I'd be surprised. So just be prepared. But look, he's full steam ahead, full go for week one.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing him. You're hoping for the best. But the Achilles, that was a little bit of information that, again, would have been helpful to me yesterday or before any draft.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. And here's the thing: will Christian McCaffrey be Mike Trout? Will Christian McCaffrey be Christian Yelich? Right? Like we can have hours.
God, you just gave me the Stanford and Son that moment. I'm coming for you. My heart's giving out. That's a terrible thing. You shouldn't do that. It's before 10 a.m. East Coast time. You just did that to people. Don't do that to people.
Okay, fine. Let's move on.
People, Ricky Bobby.
Okay, no. It's just a conversation. We're just having a discourse. Justin Herbert will play. What does that mean for Josh Palmer? What does that mean for some of the ancillary receivers? What does that mean for the total in the game? You and I see an upset here, but take it away, Joe.
Yeah, Justin Herbert is going to play. The plantar fascia is a real injury, and it's an injury that could linger throughout the year. I know he's gotten treatment on it, but typically this is something that takes weeks to subside and usually weeks of rest. And that's one thing you're not going to see. I would also keep an eye on Justin Herbert practicing a lot the next couple weeks. You could see a lot of limited practices in his future just to make sure he's ready for game day. So don't panic if that's the case. I think that's a little bit more of the management of the foot issue. Don't pretend like these little foot issues aren't big issues. Historically speaking, these foot issues really crush people's seasons. I'm not saying it's going to happen with Herbert. Maybe it was a mild situation. He's getting the best treatment you possibly can get. He's in the NFL. They have the best doctors, the best treatment people, the best training people, of course. But more to the point, too, this is going to be a very different looking offense. I think people are a little too far in the Greg Roman column of, oh, my God, they're only going to throw the football 4 times a game. Of course they're not. Like, come on. Yeah, they're going to be run heavy. But that's also out of necessity right now because you don't have Keenan Allen anymore. So you're going to have to go look elsewhere. Josh Palmer's in line for a lot of targets today. I like him as a DFS play. I like him also as a potential flex play in PPR leagues. If you need somebody, I think he's a good spot. But we'll see what Ladd McConkey is going to be. Also of note, too, in this same Charger team, DJ Chark goes on the PUP list last night. So that was something that people didn't see coming. So who knows? Maybe you do get to see Quentin Johnson make a case for his roster spot after all. But I imagine it's a lot of the running backs by committee, Edwards, Dobbins, maybe you get a little Vidal, but a lot of Josh Palmer today. But again, I don't know how excited that makes us. That's why I like the Raiders in this game today.
Yeah, no, I agree. And with all that medical expertise, aisle 2 of your local Genovese, Dr. Scholes, you're good to go.
There you go.
Okay, does Genevieve still exist? I don't think so. All right, let's head out.
I don't think so, but I enjoyed the reference. I enjoy it. I'm going to go to Woolworth right after the show. See how that goes.
It's all for you. It's all for you and Mike Cardano. All right, here we go. Puka Nacua will play, ready to roll. What does that mean about the offensive ecosystem for the Rams?
Cardano love that reference. I can tell you
Get
right now.
yourself together,
He's
Joe.
he's the Genovese right now. All right, Puka Nacua has got the knee issue that he's been dealing with. Puka Nacua did have some injuries in his college career too. Did pick up a couple things throughout the season, but he's good to go. It's going to be fascinating though if Cup and Puka are both healthy. What are we looking at week to week? Is it 1 and 1A? Are they both number ones? Does somebody take a back seat? I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. So it'll be fascinating to see if the guy who was the story of 2023, that Cinderella, does he turn into a pumpkin at all, or does he continue to be the princess and the bride that we all wanted and we're going to have on our fantasy teams that takes us to championships again? We shall see. You had to pay a lot more, first round pick, as opposed to a guy off the waiver wire. So big difference in value year over year.
I agree. We're having a great time here with the time we have left in this segment. Let's talk about TJ Hawkinson and the Vikings. Looking at a week 7 return, what do the Vikings look like come week 7? What does that division look like come week 7?
Look, now all of a sudden things have opened up a little bit here with this Jordan Love injury. We'll talk about that in a second too. But Hawkinson, look, if he's not going to play till week 7, that means the ramp up is another 2 weeks after that. It's really Hawkinson in the playoffs or not at all. And he has more value right now as a trade chip than he does for you in 2024 in fantasy. That's my opinion. I'd be looking to move him right now. And speaking of that Packer injury, the latest update we have on Jordan Love is this, that Jordan Love is going to miss probably, somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks. That's the early going here with this MCL issue. It's not season ending. It's not an ACL. So a deep breath there. But Malik Willis, the new quarterback in town, that is a downgrade. When we come back, a look at the futures market. Let's move it and shake it. We'll tell you.
Buy or sell, Anthony Richardson will be a top 7 fantasy quarterback this season. We're keeping this realistic here. We know that nobody would think that he'll be in the top 3, probably not even the top 5. How about top 7, George? Buy or sell?
If he stays healthy, top 5 is not out of question here at all. He's a running quarterback. We know how valuable they can be. My worry is going to be what I mentioned when we talked about the Indianapolis Colts. Boy, man, if Pittman were to go down, it's not a hard throw. He'll be running for his life half the time there. I like Richardson a lot. Small sample size of what we saw of what he's going to be. I played the 5 games last year before the injury here. So over a longer season, we'll see if he gets to catch up to him, what he can do. He's going to have to prove he can throw the ball to be down the field here. I'm going to buy this. All right, I want to buy on Anthony Richardson. I want him to be that guy because I want to see the excitement that he can bring. I think smart money might say go the other way because there's so many quarterbacks in that tier that hey, he could have a good year and still not finish top 7. That being said, I think he will show just like he did last year. He's going to be dynamic. I'm buying top 7.
Yeah, reminds me so much of Cam Newton in the early days too. I'm going to sell on this. I think it's too high. I think most leagues take away points for interceptions. If that's the case, I think his numbers are going to be 20-something touchdowns, 15, 16-something interceptions. That's going to negate some stuff. Yes, he will run. Can he play an entire season? Still very questionable for me. I have him as the 9th best fantasy quarterback at the end of the season, just outside the top 7. So I'm going to go sell on that.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt and Joe with you here, giving you everything you need in order to dominate. I talk about it all the time. Everyone has some type of revolving bill, whether it be their television subscription or a music subscription or their phone, whatever it is. Why not supplement that with the fact that you, A, love to watch sports, football, and stuff. And lastly, you get to listen to Joe Pisapia. Like, he's the guy that literally wrote the book. So let's dive into the futures update here. Joe, you've made so much money for so many people talking about cashing out, right? Taking something at the beginning of the season or early on at a good number and then watching that number change as that player continues to perform and then cashing out at the better number. Patrick Mahomes for MVP last week was plus 500. Today it's plus 400. I mean, it's clearly the trend is happening already.
We're one game in, and here it is already. It's crazy, but it's every year it's out there for you. And last year was a disappointment. Okay, fine. We know what happened there. The Kadarius Tonys and Sky Moores and all that stuff happened. But that ain't the case this year. This was very eye-opening. I imagine when the numbers get reset too, Patrick Mahomes to lead the league in passing is going to look a little different come Monday morning. It's going to look a little different here for maybe Patrick Mahomes' total. Remember, the total for Patrick Mahomes was 42.50 and a half. He had 290 passing yards already in this first game. So I hope you bet if you bet the over with us last week, we did our favorite bets, right? Joe's favorite futures bets on players based on fantasy projections. And the number one on the board was Patrick Mahomes. Again, almost 300 yards, check, right off the bat here in this first game against the Ravens, one of the better defenses on the planet. Let's not pretend like the Ravens defense is bad. Okay. I know it's an early game, but still 290 already, dropping 290s on people. So that number is going to reset this week, unfortunately. I would still go in on it. Anything under 4,500 is a smash, but even over at this point, you go to 46. I'm still comfortable. Look, this is a guy that had 5,000 yards 2 years ago, 4,800 the year before. Patrick Mahomes is back statistically. I would not be worrying about him at all reaching that number, and to lead the league in passing yards total is another bet that I would make. So you're still getting really good money here, 4-1 on the MVP race. And again, there's a good chance by the time we reach Halloween, this is an even number money.
Oh, Halloween. That gives me a great idea for a segue. Play with me. Okay. I'm standing in a dark alley in a trench coat and a hat.
Yeah.
You're walking past and I go, hey, kid, come here. You look around, you point at yourself as if to say me. I go, yeah, come here. You come in out of the safety of the street light and I tell you, I got the Colts to make the playoffs. Are you interested in just that? I haven't given you any odds yet. Are you interested?
Yeah, I'm interested. It's a team that made the playoffs last year, right? With Gardner Minshew as quarterback. You know what that tells me? Shane Steichen is a hell of a football coach, because that's not an easy achievement to make the playoffs with Gardner Minshew as your quarterback. So, yeah, the division I think is still top heavy. I think you still got the 2-horse race here between them and the Texans. It'll be a fascinating thing to see what they look like today. Anthony Richardson's going to have some peaks and valleys. This is going to be the case. He's still developing. He's still a very raw talent, but I do believe that right now you're getting plus money on this at plus 144. It's a good bet. I like this a lot. I think some teams are going to surprise you in a good way and in a bad way in the AFC, and I think the Colts might be one of these in a good way. And you have a healthy Jonathan Taylor theoretically for all of these games as opposed to last year. Think about that. No Richardson, Jonathan Taylor missing significant time, and he still was able to drag this team to the playoffs. I like this number a lot.
All right, plus 144 is the number there. Let's close it out here with, I'll get out of my trench coat, thankfully, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride combined, okay? Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride combined 2,250 or more receiving yards. That Cardinals offensive ecosystem gives you plus 300. Joe, your thoughts?
This is really intriguing to me because I do think that Marvin Harrison is closer to a 1,300, 1,350 guy. And if that's the case, all Trey McBride has to do is what he's capable of, which is probably get around 1,100, which I think is well within his sphere considering what's around. Yeah, I'm looking at this one, and for 3-1 for this to happen, this is a really fun special you're getting right now on FanDuel. I saw this and I said, ooh, this is kind of fun for the show because it really is about the expectations of these two guys in fantasy, right? What's the upside of Marvin Harrison Jr. this year? The upside is a 1,400-yard season. Look at Jefferson, rookie. You look at Chase. Look at Puka Nacua. This happens more often than not where these guys just come in and explode, especially when they don't have a lot of target competition. The only target competition is Trey McBride. These two guys are going to eat. Today, it would not shock me if both these guys had double-digit targets and some really big-time fantasy returns against Buffalo. So if we're getting off to a good start here with these guys and Kyler Murray is back and healthy, this 3-1, really intriguing. Wheels up for the Cardinals. We return a little fantasy over-under.
buy or sell. Anthony Richardson will be a top 7 fantasy quarterback this season. We're keeping this realistic here. We know that nobody would think that he'll be in the top 3, probably not even the top 5. How about top 7, George? Buy or sell?
You know, if he stays healthy, top 5 is not out of question at all. He's a running quarterback. We know how valuable they can be. My worry is going to be what I mentioned when we talked about the Indianapolis Colts. Boy, man, if Pittman were to go down, there's not a lot to throw. He'll be running for his life half the time there. I like Richardson a lot. Small sample size of what we saw of what he's going to be. I played the 5 games last year before the injury here. So, or a longer season, we'll see if he gets to catch up to what he can do. He's going to have to prove he can throw the ball to be down the field here. I'm going to buy this. All right, I want to buy on Anthony Richardson. I want him to be that guy because I want to see the excitement that he can bring. I think, smart money might say go the other way because there's so many quarterbacks in that tier that, hey, he could have a good year and still not finish top 7. That being said, I think he will show, just like he did last year, he's going to be dynamic. I'm buying top 7.
Yeah, reminds me so much of Cam Newton in the early days too. I'm going to sell on this. I think it's too high. I think most leagues take away points for interceptions. If that's the case, I think his numbers are going to be 20-something touchdowns, 15, 16-something interceptions. That's going to negate some stuff. Yes, he will run. Can he play an entire season? Still very questionable for me. I have him as the 9th best fantasy quarterback at the end of the season, just outside the top 7. So I'm going to go sell on that.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt Stryker, Joe Pisapia giving you everything you need in order to dominate ahead of a full slate of Week 1 competition. A lot of money out there to be had. Let's look at some fantasy over-unders here, Joe, because this is where we can certainly get a bigger picture of how things may unfold this week. We'll start with Kenneth Walker III. We've talked about this game at length. Do you think he goes over or under 67.5 rushing yards?
There isn't a more capital O.
You should have just laughed. I heard that.
I mean, I don't know where this number has come from. They know something I don't. It's the Denver Broncos. Again, we talked about them at the first hour about how bad that defense was last year. Bottom 3 against the run. And now Ken Walker in week 1 here in a game script that I think Seattle's going to be winning this game. So, yeah, like I said, I think he's got a chance for 100 in this game potentially. And more to the point, too, you can make some money on that touchdown prop, too, minus 105 in a lot of spots there for him to score a touchdown. So we're going to do this every week where we talk about the things we like in fantasy this week and how we can turn it into wagering money. And I think that's a very easy transition for people to make in their brains right now. And that's what we're looking at. Fantasy projections based on these numbers. I think this number is easily, if I was to set this number, it would be 75.5 right off the top of my head. So when I go and I see 67.5, I just don't get it. I know it's week 1. I know it's a little early. I know guys are still ramping up, but I don't understand this one at all. Give me the Ken Walker. Give me the over. Give me the touchdown play 2 if you want to play a little skinny same game parlay on Ken Walker. I think it's a really good way to make some money today.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And isn't it great? Also a reminder to everyone that's just been laboring through the muck and mire of baseball where we normally say just stay away from the parlay. Get your mindset back into finding those really good parlays, especially in football, that can help us build our bankroll ahead of the coming weeks. Joe, if I said to you, Bijan Robinson, set me a rushing yard prop. Just give me a number off the top of your head. What would you say he's hitting today?
Again, I'm thinking 77.5. That would be my number. 76.5, somewhere around there.
It's set at 63.5. Discuss.
Again, over. I don't understand this at all. It makes no sense to me. And I do think he's got touchdown equity in this game, too. I think the Tyler Algier experiment is done. This new regime has made it pretty clear that they want to get Bijan Robinson the ball. And it would not shock me if Bijan Robinson was the number 1 running back in fantasy this year. He's a special back. You saw the glimpses of it last year. It's a good offensive line, but now you've got a quarterback who can actually play the position. Now you've got a quarterback where defenses have to really give a crap, and they have to figure out how to stop Drake London and Kyle Pitts and all the other pieces around here. So to me, if you want to go all purpose, that's fine, but I would stick with the rushing here. I still think over 63.5 is an easy get for him. I would also look for the touchdown prop for him, also minus money. If you put the Ken Walker minus 105 for the touchdown, along with the Bijan Robinson minus 105, you get plus 281 right now together combined. That's a great way to make some money here on something really chalky and easy. Two of the best running backs in the best situations falling in the end zone. Yes, please. I would like to sign up for that. Where can I? Oh, everywhere. That's where you can. So Bijan, Ken Walker, look for them to score today, but also look for the overs here. I think both of these in those same game parlays, just focusing in on what the team's identity is going to be, especially with Kirk Cousins coming off that injury. You want to rely a little heavily on that run game, I think. I think that would be a smart thing to do out of the gate because, again, let Kirk Cousins kind of ramp up. The guy hasn't played football in many, many months.
All right, before we switch over, our powerful producer, Cool Hand Luke, had a great joke. Joe, I'll let you deliver it to the world with regards to Bijan Robinson today.
I don't remember what it was. It was so long ago.
Oh, the setup was there. It was so long ago. It was the fact
I'm sorry.
that if anyone can
fumbled.
stifle Bijan Robinson and the Falcons' offense, it is Arthur Smith. And I thought that was funny. And if
that's what it was. Again, this is the Falcons' revenge. Listen, take this revenge narrative and flip it around. There's no Arthur Smith revenge game. This is the Falcons' revenge game on playing for Arthur Smith for a couple of years, okay? That's what the revenge game is. Look for Drake London to spike a ball in the end zone, Bijan Robinson, all of this stuff, because what they played with at quarterback the last couple of years has been embarrassing, and Kirk Cousins is not, despite the fact that many of the Coles shirts that he's wearing might be embarrassing at times. Just
listen,
some of it.
If Bijan looks over at the sideline and points after he scores, it is for a fun season. But, folks, I do want to point something out in all seriousness. I mentioned it to Joe, and he goes, I don't know, it was so long ago. It shows you how hard Joe is working. It shows you he's just getting ready for the next thing. He's not paying attention to the nonsense and the jokes that we're making. But at the end of the day, we bring these conversations forward, and now we're really working. We're rocking and rolling. All right, this next play here, Joe, you say this is a smash. I'm going to run out and smash my button while you talk about Ramondre Stevenson, 10.5 receiving yards, over or under. You're smashing this over. Run with it. Huh.
Look for some of these small numbers. I already talked about Ramondre Stevenson being the focal point of this offense. He got paid, right? A lot of teams don't pay running backs. The Patriots did. Why? Because he's pretty much the focal point of this offense. Jacoby Brissett is capable of being a guy to manage you. Look at what he did a couple years ago for the Cleveland Browns. Remember, everyone was waiting for Deshaun Watson to take over. Meanwhile, Jacoby Brissett was the guy who was holding it down, making them a very competitive team. Deshaun Watson came in, and the rest is history, and it wasn't a good history. It was more of a drunk history. It was a history we'd like to forget. But instead, Jacoby Brissett now is taking the reins of this offense. I don't think the Bengals defense is one that you should be fearful of. I think they're middle of the pack. You know, they've lost the Bateses and some of those guys over the years that you used to fear. And they got a lot of young kids in there who have some talent. But at the same time here, I do expect Ramondre to be a guy that is going to revert back to what he did a couple years ago, which people forget. He had over 60 catches 2 years ago. 60. All he's got to do is catch 2 balls to go over this number, folks. Maybe even 1 to go over this number. So take this tiny number, 10.5, and roll with Ramondre, because Ramondre, especially with Antonio Gibson with that injury he picked up, I think Ramondre is going to have a really solid day here, be a good floor play at your RB2 spot, and maybe have some touchdown equity too. But instead, just look for this easy small number, because 10.5 is kind of a joke.
All right, so let's try to have some more smiles here. When I look at certain wagers, I look at slates, some things jump out at me. They're very attractive to my eye, and other things are just unattractive or unappealing. Cortland Sutton, 49.5. I can feel my face kind of crinkle up when I say it. I feel like my sister. Cortland Sutton, 49.5 yards. I mean, no one wants to play an under on week 1. There's better places to spend your money. But, Joe, I want to hear from you.
Yeah, to me, this is just one where I'm just going to fade Bo Nix a little bit. And I know he's looked good in the preseason. I really don't care. I don't care. I think the first shot out of the gate, having to go on the road to Seattle is not where you want to start things necessarily. Like, that's not the best starting spot for a young rookie. I think that even though you had a situation where last year Cortland Sutton, I think, went above expectations, I think it's a lot to ask of Bo Nix to go to Seattle and go look good in his first start. That's not the best case scenario. Seattle's still a tough place to play. Maybe not what it once was during the Legion of Boom era. But I'm going to go with the under here on Cortland Sutton. I think it's going to be a tough day at the office for the Denver Broncos, period. And I think it's going to be a good out of the gate statement here for the Seattle Seahawks. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong about Bo Nix. Maybe everything does kind of carry over. But I feel like, I'm looking at Cortland Sutton right now, and I'm looking at that under.
Okay, moving on. Justin Herbert will play. That says a lot. Joe and I think that he's going to be playing from behind. We think the Raiders win this game. What does that mean for Josh Palmer's receiving yards? 48.5. I expect him to go over. What says you?
I think he's got an opportunity to, at the very least, which is why I like this. Like, is this the best bet on the board? It's not as easy as the Ken Walker bet necessarily. But if you look at what's there, or should I say what's not there? What's not there is Keenan Allen. What's not there is Mike Williams. What's not there right now is DJ Chark, or a lot of competition for targets, right? It's a rookie Ladd McConkey, and it's Josh Palmer. And when Palmer's been called upon and been healthy, he has responded. He's going to get a lot of targets. I could see him getting double-digit targets. If he does, he's going to get over this 48.5.
All right, with the time that we have remaining, we bring in the beast incarnate. I need you to advocate for Brock Purdy at 245.5 passing yards. Your thoughts?
No, I will not advocate for the over on this one. We're going to go under here. I still think the 49ers win this one handily. It's a lot to ask a 40-year-old quarterback who hasn't played since January of 2023 to get on a plane, fly 3,000 yards, and all of a sudden look good against the NFC defending champions. Okay? I don't know what this notion is people have, but shake yourself out of it. Still, I think it's a little rocky out of the gate for the 49ers regardless. Jets have a good defense. Give me the under on Purdy. More when we return right here. The waiver wire pickup before games start.
Buy or sell, Anthony Richardson will be a top 7 fantasy quarterback this season. We're keeping this realistic here. We know that nobody would think that he'll be in the top 3, probably not even the top 5. How about top 7, George? Buy or sell?
You know, if he stays healthy, top 5 is not out of question here at all. He's a running quarterback. We know how valuable they can be. My worry is going to be what I mentioned when we talked about the Indianapolis Colts. Boy, man, if Pittman were to go down, it's not a hard throw. He'll be running for his life half the time there. I like Richardson a lot. Small sample size of what we saw of what he's going to be. I played the 5 games last year before the injury here. So, or a longer season, we'll see if he gets to catch up to him, what he can do. He's going to have to prove he can throw the ball to be down the field here. I'm going to buy this. All right, I want to buy on Anthony Richardson. I want him to be that guy because I want to see the excitement that he can bring. That I think, smart money might say go the other way because there's so many quarterbacks in that tier that, hey, he can have a good year and still not finish top 7. That being said, I think he will show, just like he did last year, he's going to be dynamic. I'm buying top 7.
Yeah, reminds me so much of Cam Newton in the early days too. I'm going to sell on this. I think it's too high. I think most leagues take away points for interceptions. If that's the case, I think his numbers are going to be 20-something touchdowns, 15, 16-something interceptions. That's going to negate some stuff. Yes, he will run. Can he play an entire season? Still very questionable for me. I have him as the 9th best fantasy quarterback at the end of the season, just outside the top 7. So I'm going to go sell on that.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports today. This is the big one, the most important one. They'll all be important ahead of a full week 1 of NFL. This is how we win our leagues. This is how we win a little scratch on the side. It just makes life better. But the most important thing is to get ahead of the game. Even the 1 o'clock, we don't want to go into the 4 o'clock games chasing. We don't want to be down. We don't want to do it. So let's go here. Let's look at our season-long fantasies. Let's look at the waiver wire. But these discussions also inform today's games. Joe, where do you want to start? Because I know a good place to go, but I'll let you lead this one.
I want to start with the Achilles again. Back to Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, dad jokes abound this morning. Look, Jordan Mason's a guy you should be adding. He is rostered in 60% of leagues right now. And the roster percentage comes from CBS, which you get a lot more paid leagues there. So I like to get the roster percentage from there because I think that's a little bit more useful than some of the other spots. But he's out there right now for free. And what I'm trying to do with some of these is trying to get ahead of the free agent budget, ahead of waivers and all the other stuff that's going to run eventually. Because, do you want to have to pay full boat for Jordan Mason? No. A lot of people added him already this past week. His stock shot up quite a bit after the Eli Mitchell situation, him being out for the year, because he is next man up. And he looked really good in that last preseason game. Now, preseason doesn't mean anything except for guys like Jordan Mason, where it means a lot. Like, how you perform gives you a chance to be the backup for Christian McCaffrey. So if I do think McCaffrey might miss some time in this season, he becomes a really interesting piece, even if I don't have McCaffrey. A little bit more interesting if I do. That insurance policy could be very useful, and it's going to save me some free agent budget. So look at the end of your bench. If you're carrying two defenses, stop. If you have two tight ends, what are you doing? Pick up Jordan Mason now. And God forbid you have the situation where, let's say McCaffrey comes out with a calf strain on Monday night. You think Jordan Mason's not going to be the highest bid player in week one? People are going to empty the whole tank on him? Of course they are. So be proactive. Add him now on Sunday morning for nothing and see what happens. At the very least, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, if it doesn't become a good investment, okay, you drop it and you move on. Mm-hmm. But if something happens on Monday night, you're going to be very grateful that you did get ahead of the curve.
I agree wholeheartedly. Joe, quickly, Jaylen Warren, Jalen Wright, Jordan Mason, keep two.
Jaylen Warren, who was the other one?
Jaylen Warren, Jalen Wright, Jordan Mason.
Look, I'm keeping Warren and Wright. As much as I am curious about Mason, Jalen Wright has a scenario in front of him where the likelihood of one of those guys or both of those guys at some point getting hurt, Jalen Wright becomes a league winner. So I'm not moving off him, and Warren is too startable week to week. So right now we're staying pat. If that's what your team looks like, you did a good job, Matt Stryker. You did a good job.
All right. Thanks so much out there. That one came in from social media. All right, let's move on and keep it going here. A.D. Mitchell, let's talk about this. If Indianapolis comes out and looks great today against Houston, right now he's only 45% rostered. That could change.
It could. Josh Downs is supposed to come back sooner than later, too. So he's actually targeting to return next week already. People thought it might be maybe the first month of the season, but things have progressed very well. But regardless, you could see a scenario where A.D. Mitchell has a touchdown catch and all of a sudden becomes a guy people spend some fab on. So if you don't love what you have on the end of your bench, or like I said, you did some stupid things at the end of the draft that you wish you could undo, take a flyer on A.D. Mitchell. He plays in a good offense. Or if you need somebody to stream today because you've had some injuries or some things going wrong for you in deeper leagues, Mitchell is a guy that they did spend draft capital on. He's had some moments in the preseason, but regardless, Anthony Richardson is a guy that can throw a pretty amazing deep ball. So Mitchell could really benefit from that. I could see like one or two big splash plays from him in this game that raise some eyebrows and maybe raise some fab budgets in the week. But again, it's not a must. In deeper leagues, though, under 50% rostered is something to pay attention to.
All right, let's pay attention to the situation in Green Bay. Malik Willis stepping in for the injured Jordan Love, listed 3 to 5 weeks out for Love. We'll monitor that each and every week, each and every day here on the network. But what does that do to the offensive ecosystem, in particular Marshawn Lloyd?
Well, Marshawn Lloyd obviously already didn't play, I should say, as this game has gone past. But don't forget about him this week on your waiver wire, because just the fact that he didn't play in the first week with the hamstring issue, they're going to have to lean very heavily on this run game going forward. Now, that means a lot of Josh Jacobs. His stock kind of goes up a tad, not too much. It goes up from a volume standpoint, but not in terms of good scoring opportunity standpoint, because the pivot is now Malik Willis. That is not a good scenario. Okay, so I'm not looking at that one as a good look here for the Green Bay Packers. But that also means that Josh Jacobs, who has had some injury issues already this preseason heading into the year, it could mean Marshawn Lloyd, who was one of my favorite running backs coming in this year to the draft, could really be a guy you're happy to own. Now, he is only 61% rostered currently, so he's out there in more leagues than you realize. If he is, despite the fact that he's got no stats, so when people sort him, they're going to look and they're going to say, oh, Marshawn Lloyd didn't even play. They might not even realize in casual leagues that he was out for that game. He's a stash guy, because I think as the season goes on in the next couple weeks here, you're going to see them rely heavily on that run game. Maybe you didn't need him active in that first week, but he's going to have to be active very soon to support whatever's left of this offense now that Malik Willis could be running it for at least a month.
All right, a guy that gets uptick more than a tad Winslow will be Josh Palmer, now that we know that Justin Herbert is 100% here. Josh Palmer rostered in 76% of leagues. Does that seem about right to you?
It seems under to me. Josh Palmer now, especially with the Chark issue going out on the pup list, like it's Josh Palmer and Lad McConkey. That's it. That's what we've got here, folks. So yeah, they're going to be a run-heavy offense. That's fine. But let's stop overreacting. Like Justin Herbert's going to throw the ball 10 times a game. Stop it. He's going to throw to Josh Palmer, and they could even be behind in this one. So to me, this number should be closer to 90. Even in shallow leagues, I think Palmer is worthy of a roster spot.
All right, now talk to me about this Vikings defense, because, Joe, you have a gem involving Daniel Jones over under interceptions, don't you?
I do. Daniel Jones over 0.5 interceptions, minus 114. Yes, please. I would very much like that today. And look, just turnovers in general have always been the undoing in Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones also, another guy, hasn't played football in a while, right? So now he's going out there. Look, the Vikings are not the Dallas Cowboys. They're not the Ravens.
Right?
But his proclivity to fumble and or throw interceptions, just looking for a turnover for Daniel Jones is a lot, which is enough for me to look at the Minnesota Vikings as an interesting streaming defense. Let's say you have a defense you love, but you don't love the matchup a lot this week, and the Vikings are floating out there, 40% rostered. Yeah, why not the Vikings this week against the Saquon-less New York Giants and Daniel Jones, who again has turned over the ball quite a bit in his career. We come back to the 3 and out. We're going to close out strong on FSD.
Buy or sell, Anthony Richardson will be a top 7 fantasy quarterback this season. We're keeping this realistic here. We know that nobody would think that he'll be in the top 3, probably not even the top 5. How about top 7, George? Buy or sell?
If he stays healthy, top 5 is not out of question here at all. He's a running quarterback. We know how valuable they can be. My worry is going to be what I mentioned when we talked about the Indianapolis Colts. Boy, man, if Pittman were to go down, it's not a hard throw. He'll be running for his life half the time there. I like Richardson a lot. Small sample size of what we saw of what he's going to be. I played the 5 games last year before the injury here. So over a longer season, we'll see if he gets to catch up to what he can do. He's going to have to prove he can throw the ball to be down the field here. I'm going to buy this. All right, I want to buy on Anthony Richardson. I want him to be that guy because I want to see the excitement that he can bring. That I think smart money might say go the other way because there's so many quarterbacks in that tier that hey, he could have a good year and still not finish top 7. That being said, I think he will show just like he did last year. He's going to be dynamic. I'm buying top 7.
Yeah, reminds me so much of Cam Newton in the early days too. I'm going to sell on this. I think it's too high. I think most leagues take away points for interceptions. If that's the case, I think his numbers are going to be 20-something touchdowns, 15, 16-something interceptions. That's going to negate some stuff. Yes, he will run. Can he play an entire season? Still very questionable for me. I have him as the 9th best fantasy quarterback at the end of the season, just outside the top 7. So I'm going to go sell on that.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports today, ahead of Week 1 in the NFL. Want to give a tip of the cap for the maiden voyage for our boy Luke. Cool hand Luke steering the ship. Great job. It's been a lot of fun. Expect a whole lot more. I promise you, the wheels will come off around Week 4. Don't worry about it. Joe, it's time for 3 and out now. These are 3 things we're looking forward to, and it informs our wagering decision. It informs our fantasy decision. So let's go. You got an upset for me? Let's start there.
I do, and it's going right back to the Raiders. But I didn't know we had wheels, by the way, in the first place. That was news to me. I did not get that email. The Raiders, I'm looking at them right now, 3-point underdogs minus 115, plus 134 on the money line. So you've got a team that has a coach that everybody wanted to play for finally, right? We corrected that mistake after a couple of years ago. Bisaccia was the guy everybody wanted him. Players didn't get him. Then they got mad. Then it went in the wrong direction. And now we have Antonio Pierce, who everybody wanted. We gave him Antonio Pierce. They want to play for Antonio Pierce. And they did play for Antonio Pierce last year. Minshew is not a world beater, but he's a game manager. You have Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Zamir White, Brock Bowers. That's a lot of talent. Oh, and Max Crosby, rushing a guy who has a foot issue. Okay, so explain this to me, because the Chargers don't have a home field advantage. The Chargers have Harbaugh, and that's great, but last time I checked, he didn't, take everybody from Michigan with him, although maybe after yesterday he wanted to leave everybody in Michigan behind. I'm looking at this one, and I'm looking at the Raiders, and I'm saying, yeah, I love the +3 you're getting. But on the money line straight up, too, I would not be shocked if the Raiders went out there and just pass rush, just took it to Herbert, who doesn't have the same amount of weapons. The offense is going to be more conservative. I'm a little worried there if the Raiders get ahead. Can they catch up? So give me the Raiders today. Some other interesting upsets, too. Man, that 7.5 there you're getting on the Patriots against the Bengals. Like, the Bengals are not full strength right now. I was giving a lot of respect to the Bengals. Believe me, this is despite the fact I'm a Patriot fan telling you. It would not shock me if this was a little bit closer of a game. 7.5 is a big number. And I also don't understand why the Dallas Cowboys are underdogs against Deshaun Watson. I know the Cleveland Browns defense is great, but last time I checked, that Dallas defense is pretty good too. And Deshaun has not proven much. Jets 49ers, that's number 2 on my 3 and out that I'm looking for. I want to see the San Francisco 49ers play angry. They lost the Super Bowl, heartbreaking fashion. Things typically don't go well. This is your chance here to make a statement. Now, I know the Jets defense is really good, but I think everybody forgets about the decline of Aaron Rodgers before he left Green Bay. I think people forget about the fact that Aaron Rodgers hasn't played in a while, and we don't know what Aaron Rodgers looks like in this offense. And last time I checked, the offensive coordinator is a clown. So let's not sell me on Hackett being a genius, okay? It's just a fact, okay? This is a guy who was the most embarrassing head coach in the last couple of years, and that's including Urban Meyer. So it's not a good situation here. The Jets have a lot to prove here. Defense is very talented. Sal's going to have them ready to play. I don't know what that offense looks like, so give me the 49ers defense in this game. I'm looking for the 49ers defense to show up in a big way against Aaron Rodgers. And then lastly, the Falcons. Look, this is that new Falcons team. Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson being that dog who's going to get all the carries, Drake London. Matt, I don't know about you, but that Falcons-Steelers game really has my attention, especially now that you're going to get Fields in this game too. Are you excited for this one? What other game on the board are you excited about? Because you also get Tom Brady calling a game today. I'm very excited about that. Yeah, your average NFL fan is going to learn a lot about football just listening to Tom Brady and sitting by the fireplace watching that game.
Yeah, everyone likes to feel smarter, right? That's why they watch shows like this with people like you on networks like this. So, yeah, 100%. Also going to tinker with looking at maybe if I can find something where a Raiders and Vikings defense, something to that effect, maybe try to parlay something there. Always looking for those plus numbers. I have something that has the Vikings as well as the Cowboys mixed in. Need guys like Bijan and Justin Jefferson to fall in the end zone and complete a good 4 anytime touchdown player parlay that can cash. This is how I approach the early part of the season, trying to build my bankroll. I want to go into the 4 o'clock games being able to do whatever I want. Joe?
Look, man, this is it. Week 1. We get off to a good foot here. We continue on. There's going to be chaos in week 1. That's always the case. We know it every single time. And I'm part of that chaos, right? Because I'm the guy saying, what about the Cowboys? What about the Raiders? There's some lines that just don't look right to me. But for all the breakdown of the lines, Pro Football Today coming up, 3 hours, wall-to-wall football. We're going to take you through and in-game live during the games too, so you can make your bets during the games and do so wisely. SportsGrid is going to have you covered from pillar to post here every single Sunday for NFL. It's going to be a very exciting time. Make sure you follow us on social media as well. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game from Matt Stryker and my perspective is going to go on and on. Thanks to our crew here. Great start to week 1. Enjoy your Sunday, everybody.